partner because I love Kari very much when you are talking with us. You are great. And Kari has Master of Science, Laboratory of Industrial Economics and Product Technologies. He works in Aalto University. He worked for many years, and Department of Industrial Engineering and Management. And also Kari orchestrates the Urban Mill. You know, he's a co-founder of Urban Mill and our partner. And I think that Kari will show us a lot of beautiful information about this urban mill cluster because it's really great and it works among the university in a very beautiful place also. Kari?
Yeah, thank you. So it's nice to see you again. So now this time I try to tell something about our own activities, and I start to share my screen so you can then see what I'm doing here. So do you see now the presentation?
Yes, we see the first slide of the presentation.
Yeah. So I tell a little bit about and share our experience of the orchestration of the innovation ecosystems, and perhaps the main message is that's a collaborative human effort. Something like has said also before in Matti's and Jarmo's presentations, and also in Lauri's in the beginning. And I take the case of Urban Mill and then Espoo Innovation Garde, where we are situated. So I show you first here. This is, do you see this now?
Yes, Kari.
So this is where we are. This area where this is there on the right is the Aalto University campus and state research center. So that's the biggest innovation area in the Nordic countries. And then we have here the big international companies like Nokia used to be here, and we have the Microsoft, etc. there, and also big Finnish companies. And then startups like Angry Birds and that type of thing. So it's there. And then we have a third area, which is Tapiola area, which is a garden city built in 50s. And now when we talk about Espoo Innovation Garde, we talk about these three different things: Tapiola, Keilaniemi, and Otaniemi. And it's wonderful because this Tapiola is culture and people, city services, etc. And then this is global businesses, and this is innovation. And if you now look around, we have also here. It's a area which is a natural reserve area. It's close to us, so that we have it's European Natura area. And when you look there is Estonia there on the other side of the sea, and Helsinki is here, so that there up you see the city center and the other universities, etc. So that's where we are, and I show you where is Urban Mill. So we are here. So a little bit. These buildings here, this is Urban Mill. This is Startup Sauna, which is the biggest European startup hub of the students. And this is Design Factory. And we call this Innovation Alley. So we come from here. But are connected to all kind of activities on the area. So I go away from here and go back to my presentation. So that's my context. And then I tell a little bit now also about Urban Mill later, about my own background, why I'm so keen in working in this Espoo Innovation Garde is that I've been here 30 years. So I started with working in 80s, late of 80s in the Engineering Society of Finland, where that was a national things with all the companies and all our members. Now there's 70,000 members in that organization. But from that I came then to the the Helsinki University of Technology and coordinated 6 years change program where we had all our institutes of technology in Finland, 30 of those, and the technical universities. And the aim of that was then to make them more international, use the new knowledge and digital means. So, and that was a wonderful way to learn how the businesses act and how the education and cities do in different parts of Finland. But from that, it was quite, and this was early 90s. So one issue which raised there up was the digital technologies in the beginning of 90s. Internet wasn't grown on that time, but we still did learning technologies quite a lot. So we started to do in the European context e-learning and e-collaboration, the social media things. And then 1993, when the internet broke out, we concentrated fully on that. So we had in the late 90s, there a unit where we had almost 100 different EU projects going on, and we played with the technology and did all kind of things what you can do with the digital technologies and learning and working. So, for example, on that time, 1996, we did orchestrating a European virtual university where there were 80 faculties all over Europe. And that was used all the technologies from satellites to internet. So it was quite nice learning experiment. But then after that, also the internet went to the society. So in late 90s and 2000, I was working a while for the Finnish Innovation Fund. And what we did there, we looked what's the effect of the internet, the digital technologies to the society. And that was start of the human-centric thinking there. So we had a large conference in Finland where we looked the effects and impacts of the technology in the society. What happened on that time too was that all those innovations, what we did in the university, all Finnish universities regarding the learning technology, they were emerging. And in 2003, we had 200 companies in Finland which did something with the learning. They could be technology providers, content providers, service providers, or big companies like Nokia who had internal e-learning things. And on that time, then I was then developing in this, again, in Otaniemi area, the e-learning ecosystem of Finland with these 200 companies. And that was quite learning experience because learning was the first area where the content really, we saw all the challenges which are coming when you take new technologies. And one thing was that what we found was difficult already was that the companies and the organization couldn't use and deploy the new technologies. So we had to do quite a lot of work on that to go inside companies who were the users of the ecosystem services and help them to make the cultural change. It wasn't a technological change at that time. The cultural change, how to use digital media better. And from that then emerged the need of that we saw that we should do something with how we innovate. So in 2006, I was part of the European team where we established the Living Labs and the whole Living Lab movement. It started a few years before that already, but we launched the European network of Living Labs in 2006 in Otaniemi. And that was the idea there behind was that you have to bring the people into the process of doing innovation. Before that, it has been quite a lot of push type of thing where in the laboratory you did something, tested it and put it in the market. And we calculated on that time that 90% of all the digital services were not functioning from the people's point of view. So you had to do do something. And the Living Lab movement is still going on. I was responsible of the 3 first waves, so the 150 Living Labs globally on that time, but now it's further on. Through that Living Lab movement, by the way, we worked also together with Jarmo Suominen, who was on Monday here. We noticed that it's important to get the cities and the people in the cities and their normal life into the process of doing innovations. So from that on, we started saw that, okay, the regions are those one of the sources which give the information, the content. And in 2011, then together with Lars Miikki, my colleague, there was started a program called Energizing Innovation Ecosystems, which was in this Espoo Innovation Garde. And part of that was also putting together a collaboration and co-working space. And we noticed that on that time that all these things what we had learned during the years were difficult to push on the market. And then we started together with Lasse and City of Espoo and Aalto University, put that in the reality. And that was the way how Urban Mill was started. And now that was a background. And now I tell a little bit about that, what is happened there. First of all, we are situated in Espoo, which is part of the capital area, the Helsinki region or Uusimaa region. About 1/3 of the population is living there, so it's an important part of the city. There you see it also in the Europe. We are in the southern Finland. Espoo is an international city. We have over 110 nationalities here. It's all the growth is nowadays coming from international people who move to Espoo and within these big companies and students, etc. And Espoo Innovation Garde, this area which I showed in the beginning, is the innovation hub of the whole Finland. So it's the biggest innovation hub in Nordic countries, and we have calculated that almost half of all innovation activities in Finland are somewhat related to this area. So it means that if we can work here, well, we are connected to Finland and also then to Nordic countries and globally. So this is a little bit for Espoo, City of Espoo. So not so many know that because we are part of the international, this is the Helsinki region. So there are 4 cities, Espoo, Vantaa, Helsinki and Kauniainen, you see there. And Espoo is the technology hub of the capital area. It's the 2nd largest city in Finland. And as you see, if you look at the figures, so there's a lot of people. We have 16,000 students, 400 professors, then many R&D centers, 5,000 researchers, etc. And there's one startup growing every week or two perhaps per week. So it's quite dynamic area. The great thing in Espoo is that in the values of City of Espoo, this participatory public-private city planning is part of its way of doing. It's an ecological, economical, ethical city, so that reflects those values to things what Espoo does. And culture is quite important. But now I concentrate on this Tapiola Mikkelä and tell a little bit about that, how the innovation is orchestrated here. But first, why? As you see that I have the line there, think local, act global. So that do something which is meaningful for local people, but in the same time provide it globally. I think that's quite a lot what we do in the whole city. And now why to orchestrate innovation? I go now through some background thing about that. First of all, I think that we have stepped into the post-normal VUCA area. So that means that people, things are changing quite fast and you can't control it. This is something about the VUCA. VUCA is volatile. This is US Army introduced the term in 90s for the warfare thing, but nowadays it's so that the whole economy, it's quite confusing, so that it's thing which the term which has came during the last 5 years and management term too. So VUCA means volatile. So things they are not stable, they go up and down. That means that you need vision in order to handle that. Things are also uncertain. You can't predict any more things, how they go. You can't plan them that way. So that means that in order to live that type of place, you have to understand better how it functions, how the ecosystems function, and so on. Then things are complex. There's quite a lot new players, multiple players, people, organizations, which are working together. And now it's difficult from the one actor's point of view. You need clarity there. What's your role? What your processes? How we connect to each other? So the clarity is important. And then it's ambiguous. That means that it's multifaceted. It looks different, the world from different angles. If you can remember the old elephant metaphor where people were looking, blind people were looking elephant, and one took from the tail and said that, okay, this is a snake. Another took from the food and said that, okay, this is a tree, etc. So that's the difficulty, that even we deal with the same things, it's different from the different angles. And Stoboyd has told the same thing as a post-normal era. And that does that in that type of things, the organizations have to be fast and loose. They have to reconfigure or organize them around the social networks, not so much in the business processes as before. They should be more decentralized, and then the autonomy increases and it's more people oriented. And from our people point of view, it means that we feel that we belong to our networks, which are my network, not so much to the institutions, and so on. So that's a challenging thing. So the main thing what is there is that you can't, the predictability is not low. So you have to do things without the predictions what is the future. It's not any more linear as it used to be. We had, for example, in the digital things, the waterfall model that you just did the things in sequences and started from something and then it was ready. Now we have lean startup methods and all kinds of other things which are not non-linear. They are recurring, iterative things. And then there comes every day new unexpected combinations of competencies and business models. That's happening every day. If you do a good model for you, you notice that next day there will be somebody from somewhere in the globe who do same kind of things or even better. And that means that the legacy networks, those old organizations, which used to be big and strong, they are in challenges. So I come back to that. So that means that we have seen that the old operational models don't fit to the new reality. They are too, rigid for that. We see also that before the institutions have the innovation departments, and it was more institutionalized, the innovation. But now it's people from different organizations who do innovations together. And what then motivates these people? Why they do it? So especially in the younger generation, you see that things have to be meaningful for them. So that then people engage. So they do things which are important for themselves. And another thing is that for example, when I was studying, on that time we did individual work quite a lot. Our tasks were individual tasks, etc. But that doesn't work anymore. We need multi-talented and multidisciplinary teams. And you see that, for example, in Aalto University, which is our collaborative partner, almost all things are done in teams. Individuals, of course, they are important, but the teams are better. And now during this Corona time, we have seen it already that what is that where people work? They don't work anymore only in the working place, but they are platforms. They can be co-working spaces, homes, digital platforms like this Zoom, which are connected, enable people to contribute. That means that we can be quite heavily distributed. We don't have to be in the same place anymore. And what is emerging is that entrepreneurial thinking in public organizations, private organizations, in learning life and in startups, that's emerging. And through that also new ways and models, business models, operational models is coming. And in that, where those are evolved in the ecosystems of different companies and networks of the people. So I see that so that what are the future and today or the working context are ecosystems, networks. Your own organization is only part of that. You can work with different organizations, different communities. But still, why we have to orchestrate things is that because this is changing, there are still these systemic gaps. There are gaps between things, and they have to be filled. And they are quite wicked things because you have to combine so many different things. Of course, platforms, like if you think like Uber or Airbnb and things, they have solved them in some niches, but there's a lot of things which is still have to be done. And perhaps the last thing in this list is that I see this time as ambidextric time. It means that you have to be two-handed or many-handed. It's not enough that you do one thing in that time. So in this presentation, I try to say that you have to think local, do meaningful things there, but build in the same time global impact. Both things, not one on either one. And the same ambidextrity means that you have to make efficiency in the organization, efficient processes, service processes, but then in the same time build the future. So now coming to the cities, as we all know that now over 50% of the people are living in the cities, and in the near future it's 2/3 of the whole population there. And cities have always been the creative hubs of the world, not only in this time, but they have been before. But now it means that when the amount of the cities is coming, we have more and more creative hubs which compete with each other. And now the question why I try to tell you is how to orchestrate innovation in the city and in the local context. So I share those experiences, what we have. Of course, there are many ways of doing it, but perhaps we have learned something during the years here. So now I first show you something. We have been working, I have to say, we work with the City of Espoo, the Aalto University, the Engineering Society of Finland, and the State Research Center, and about 1,000 organizations other. And we have been doing in collaboration project with different players. And now I show something what we did together with KPMG and City of Espoo a few years ago. This is a short video.
The Frictionless City, Dynamics of Innovation Ecosystems. Often, we see distance from others as prohibitively inconvenient, leading us to stick with the old and familiar. Even when we are struck with inspiration, that inspiration remains trapped, with little way of coming to fruition within the communities of like-minded people in which we work. And often, we're unaware of possibilities that may reside outside the box. However, when strangers meet, fortunate coincidences can occur. City government can actively enable such encounters, for instance, by arranging events and creating physical, social, and digital spaces. This allows all sorts of people to interact and share ideas, create new knowledge, and get motivated to act on ideas. Such enabling services are affordances that the city government can use to direct innovative energy in pursuit of societal goals. In other words, the government would invest in such things as co-working tools, workshop facilitation methods, hackathon events, orchestration services, and digital knowledge refinement applications in order to guide activities towards common goals. They form innovation platforms in which knowledge about innovative ideas are held, fostered, and made available for collaboration. Collaboration that is based on mutual commitment to common goals is the best practice of innovation ecosystems. Smooth interaction, openness, transparency, trust, and confidence are prerequisites for successful co-creation. The city government's role would be to remove friction that prevents success. The city government's active enabling role helps create new knowledge and new markets. Developing innovation platforms and transforming innovations into sustainable 21st century urban services brings business opportunities and value to citizens and enterprises. In a city without friction, anything is possible.
So that was something what we co-created with the City of Espoo. Many of those things which city presented.
Urban services brings business opportunities and value to citizens and
going back here. So something, and City of Espoo has been 8 years what Urban Mill has innovated, a main partner. And I want to emphasize that we do things together with, we can't do anything alone, so that we do together with the city and Aalto and all the people which are together with us. This is just to show you that Espoo strategy is, they call it Espoo story, and that's built together with citizens. Thousands of people have been contributing to all the city thing. So the city really works so that they engage people there. And now we work together with different programs. Now there's going on participatory Espoo program, inspiring dynamic Espoo program, sustainable Espoo and healthy Espoo. And those are the means which connect the different dots there. So that's our background from the area. So we are, Urban Mill is a platform which supports and facilitates this co-creation Espoo Innovation Garden. We work, of course, globally too, but the main focus is there. And we bring together the change makers from public and private sector and individuals. That's one thing, important thing. Then another thing is this shared co-learning process, so that we see that first step of working there is share learning, and that's the basic of all things. Then, of course, the entrepreneurial thinking is one important thing, so that we want to work with the people who are entrepreneur minded, and then use the digital tools there. The activities are bottom up, they are open, so that we try to open all things. Even if we have customers in our premises, we ask them to open their processes. And then participatory. And then what about that? I'm working at a small architecture company, and we run this platform for our partners. So we are public-private people partnership. We have all those 4 elements there. So that's thing. And important that we are close to the State Research Center and Aalto University. In this slide, I really left to something what Jarmo said already on Monday, that okay, you have to work from bottom up, and this right side is about that. it's quite easy to work with people and engage them if they are allowed to do things what is meaningful for them. But on the left side, in the same time, is the organizational structure which is there. And they have those processes and existing things which prohibited a little bit what you do. So when we started Urban Mill 2012, we discussed quite a lot of this, and we try to be there between. So we are the boundary object and make processes which combine these two things. And that was the same what Jarmo said, that you have to have the both things. And we try to figure out like that. So it means that it seems quite complicated what we do, so that we are in the same time a community with open doors. We have a platform, a place where people can come and do what they do. We are an ecosystem node. That means that part of organizational structures which are global. And then we are global hub. So we try to impact globally also, even if we do local things. And that means that in this picture, you see that little bit about what are our stakeholders. So we have said that we have 8 different stakeholder groups. The most up there is the people. We see that the people are the most important stakeholder, and in the under there are the cities and regional authorities. But then we have all the like enabling environment, buildings and construction companies. We have scientific research, learning, innovation, business developers, and all the different kind of normal organizations. And we bring them together, and they do it voluntary. And there you see things that there have been over 150,000 people participated or engaged in the things. We have had 15,000 global or national visitors who benchmark and bring us new knowledge, over 4,000 events there, etc. 100 teams and startups have some way related to us and be working with us. And what we try to do, of course, they do their own things, but we contribute to that what they do. So we facilitate it some way. First, we engage them when they come in. We curate a little bit that what they do, uplift so that, and help them to get customers, and orchestrate then the whole hub inside the innovation ecosystem. And that's something I can't tell really what it is, because every second is different. It depends on that to whom you talk or with whom you work. And we have seen, for example, with Lars, who is also on the line, so that sometimes when we have these 50 own startups who have using our services and paid for that also. When we come in the morning, we look at, okay, people are wrong places. So they have changed, for example, the staff there, because they have noticed that they can do better things doing that. So you can't predict that, it just happens. And if we think from the value creation point of view and orchestration point of view, we see that something has happened. So this picture tells about that, how we see the customers, that's another, and what is the critical competence. And if we go to the lower left end, that's the old push type of industrialism, where you product something and then you push it to the market. The customer is just receiving it. They can't affect to that. In 60s, 70s, when we started to do service businesses, then it was more, the competence was relationship, so that you can connect with your customers, and they are source also, so that you do the service together with them. But now when we have stepped into 21st century, it's more that we see that the customers are co-producers. So we get something from them and we give something of them, and then we do something combining the whole things together. So it's more organizing the value creation is the competence, not anymore to product efficient something. And we are now trying to work with these reconfiguration value creation systems and orchestrate that. But in the same time, we have still the service of things, and on the platform level, this production of things. So when I said in before that this local global thing, that we think that we can co-create locally meaningful and globally connected innovation hubs. So we need both a national thing and a local thing and international thing. And now there we have to now ask that how this local knowledge, which in Finland comes from Aalto University, VTT, can complement support the entrepreneurial efforts, how we can bring them together. And then how the local knowledge can be complemented by global knowledge, like Ukraine, etc. So we have to be there too. And then how the entrepreneurs, when they get these local and global knowledge, how they can exploit it globally and leverage it there. So we try to always help our companies to be always global. So and that's the mindset what we have, and we see that it's in our case the entrepreneurial ventures what they do, and then to be connected with the global knowledge, it's important. For that, we talk about rootedness, so that we believe on that I showed the 8 different stakeholder groups. We should do something together on the local level. We call it sticky knowledge. It's something that you can't take from us. It's happening between the people. It's there, and that makes trust, etc., which builds a stronger community. But in the same time, when the people work on the local level, there have to be strong linkages with the co-located actors in the companies or other countries, or in projects like in this. All the customers, suppliers, alliance partners, all kind of things should be taken there. And this is my old colleagues, Yves Dosa. I was working at the Skiers Center of Knowledge and Innovation Center 20 years ago. He's working in INSEAD, and this is how, if I think that the normal university way was that you do generic things, explicit knowledge, which is quite simple, the knowledge pieces, and then you use it in practice, and then look at how the customers see, and perhaps there are experience things like that coming out, so that you start with the simple and then you go to the complex. But how we try to do now in this complex innovation ecosystem is so that we start from the existential knowledge, so that the people together make something for themselves and come down there on the right side to the explicit simple things and make clarity, so that it's some way put the whole system on the other way. This is a systemic way of thinking how we think. Now the urban mill and the co-working space is in the middle, and we see that the main purpose of our existence is that we help people to energize together in order to do new innovation things, and we enable that by giving them tools and services, and the things are done by the people. So we did research 10 years ago about that, what is important, and we found support that. That's quite simple, and that has been a long time. But then the second thing is that you support co-design. And in co-design, we mean that the teams have some common objects and they do some object-oriented things. Learning can be individual, but co-design, it has a direction. And there you can use all the co-design methods, etc. And that has been around 20-25 years already. But now what we then notice that what is one problem in these innovation communities and many for research projects in the European community is that there is no use of the outcomes of that. So that people just research and develop and then they go back and develop something, but that's not implemented. So that's why we took this co-effectuation there. That means that the places should also help the ventures to get customers and go to the society. So in generic, that is, when we are one place, we see that, as you see there, there's Espoo Innovation Garde. So we see that because we are thematic place, we concentrate on urban issues, but there are health issues and there are many other things which you innovate, is that we have to link together with the other spaces in the Espoo Innovation Garde, which do different things. So there are 30, 40 different thematic places nowadays there. So we work with them. And in the same time, we do that also in the global context. Now we work with the Kiev and all, and try to learn what you have done and share what we have been doing. And the whole thing there is that we work on 3 levels. One is that when there's this global knowledge, which I explained before, we try to help to make from the knowledge new capabilities to do something and implement something. Then when we attract people and we are part of the different communities, we see that those people do new business models. Business model is more important than the product or etc. or service. They have to do new ways how it is sustainable in the ecosystems. And then we work with the challenges. We try to be part of processes where, for example, this time we do the sustainable development goals, and through this then make sustainable solutions in the society, which are also global scale things. And there we need these business models and capabilities. So that's something in a philosophical level what we try to do. One important thing is there that we believe on quadruple innovation. So that before we had this triple helix model where public administration, R&D stakeholders and companies were working together. But in the Living Lab movement already 20 years ago, when it emerged, we noticed that we have to include also the civil society and people. So in all our activities and also in the Innovation Garde, these 4 elements are there. And we believe that the most important and critical is the people, so that we work around the people and the others then reflect to that. Now I show you a few just pictures. What is your reality at Urban Mill? These are from different times. There in the left upper corner, we did 7 years ago biking services where people, or we're part of that together with the Auto Design Factory, so that self-organized biking services in the city of Helsinki. And we tried that in Urban Mill, and in one day we had 150 local bikers doing all things. That's one thing. Then, so the second thing is that we have all kind of open experiments. So we bring together experiments in the Espoo days, it's once a year, and bring the developers there and open it to normal citizens so that they can interact with the innovators, etc. And then, for example, the upper Uusimaa Innovate is that we do the same, for example, with the innovation projects which are on the area in the Helsinki region, and bring them together and make interaction. So this is more a learning. Then there are residential forums which are organized in our places. So, and that's the way how the public bodies and the residents talk, and then also it's integrated the university things. Then this beer festival is a good example of that students, it's different here, by the way, than Ukraine, that we don't have so much a few years ago, the small breweries. So the students wanted to make change so that we helped them to do a small brewery festivals, and they were 2 times organized by us. So there were for 3,000 people on the yards and inside. But then it's also so that they needed us in the beginning, so that now they are somewhere else and they have upscaled it. But then one thing which is, I think, important also is that we don't look the age of the people. So we work with the senior people and children, and there are children from 3 to 6 years, and they have a science theater there. So it's 3 to 4 times per year. The engineering association brings their grandparents and small children, and they play with the science issues. So that means that these open learning activities are for all the ages. Yeah, but then the question, when we started, we didn't have any financing. We were like normal startup, and we had to do things. We knew that there is a need for this type of activity, and then we looked a little bit around, and Professor Saras Saraswati is from US, has a effectuation entrepreneurship model, and we used that. And it's quite simple. There are 5 stages there. One is the bird in the hand principle. So start what you have and use that. What you individual are, what your networks are. So we started with our existing projects and their partners. Then the second thing is the affordable loss principle. So focus on the downside. So don't ask the people how much you invest and then you want to be rich, but ask them what you can give to this new venture and this activity which you don't want to get back. So that means that Olga has been also in Urban Mill. All is circulated. We don't have any, there are worth of 500,000 all things there, but people have brought them there. Even the 3D theater is brought there. We haven't paid for that. So the whole thing has been to find the ways how get people to give something what they afford to lose also, but then they can share all the things. Then the crazy guilt principle is the third one. That means when you are open to all players, that means that when they do things what they want to do, the situation changes every day. So everyone can contribute to that, what is the outcome of the whole. So we have only the vision what we have there. We have a direction where to go, but how it will be implemented depends on that who is together with us. Then leverage the lemonade principle means that if there are difficulties, and every time there are, see them as possibilities to generate new things. Even, for example, we had some difficulties with the university in the beginning because they had sort of money there and they couldn't rent our places. We have 1,300 square meters place there. And then they said, okay, it's not allowed to rent anything. So we had to change the service as a service. So now it's a membership service and they don't rent the spaces are part of the service. So that was the lemonade principle, that you change the thing so that it fits to the reality. And then the last thing is the worldview, the pilot in the plane principle. It means that don't go to the activities where there are too much players which then have to together decide something before something moves. So do things where you can decide by yourself and do it fast and then bring others with you. So that's actually the entrepreneurship principle what is used here, and also in Startup Sauna and many other places in Otaniemi. These are just then some experiments. I don't go further there. So we have been with the schools, we have done lunch talk concepts. We have, for example, kick bikes in Moscow and Finland, and we have helped them to get their footprint in Otaniemi. They use our premises. We have done with the regional council digital tools on the mobile phones. We have been experimenting with the preschool children about urban farming, or bringing people, entrepreneurs from Korea to Finland and have camps here, or was so that the Montreal Canteen Academy brought their own education to Finland. We have been doing that type of thing. But what is important in this is that we learn every time when those people come to us. So it's every time learning. So now about how to do then the whole thing. We see that there are 3 levels. There's platform level, which is the physical or digital place. Like now we have digital Zoom platform here. Then we have these communities which are playing on the or working on the platform. And then there are ecosystems, the organizations which they are attached. And now I just say that on the platform level, we have learned that there are 6 things which you have to do. One is to some way have the memory, which was also in the City of Espoo's presentation. You have the contacts and knowledge and know what has happened and who is doing what. Second thing is to support events. So because the events collect those people who are interested on the themes, and when you have good events there, then the people come together. And you have to have a memory what happened there, because you have to share it with the others. Then places for working and teams, so that's important. From the events, you find people who are interested in some things, and you have to help them to make their thing. Normally, the teams have one challenge, at least in Finland, that they try to develop things, but not do concrete things. So we push them to do design prototypes and demos, and then showing them as a living lab to their future customers. So that's the 5th thing. And then in order to do that, for example, we did some work with doctors of health and memory patients 1 year ago. Then we also opened up them global network, which we had. So that the platform has to have, these are the 4 or 6 different services which are there. Then we have accelerated many of the places. I take only there in the upper right corner. We a few years ago looked all the co-working spaces in the capital area. There were 60 on that time. And in order to get access to other knowledge too, so we are networked with them. We do things also in their premises, and they people visit us. So it's important to not be closed, but be open. And what that means in our thing, we have been escaping the pipeline thinking. Normally, work happens quite a lot in the silos. So in our case, it's more command and control type of thing. And in the platform thinking, we make more collaboration so that and engage people. We prefer more entrepreneurship and collective type of thing than institutions, and through that get sustainable ecosystem thinking. We don't believe so much on project management in the traditional way, but on the serendipity management. So how you handle different things. Then you can do disruption, new things which are not there. And then we are more not pushing type of things. We are more working and learning with the others, get diversity. And not, it used to be brokers between the different players. Now we have more that community building things where we can build this new and unique combination of competencies. And the last thing there is perhaps that we are not pushing things on the market, we are pulling ideas and supporting them in order to get attraction, gravity, and all kind of things. So that's a mindset thinking difference. So what it means then, it means, for example, that we have been, for example, these are just examples of what we have been doing in different places, is that, for example, there is a smart autonomy thing where the energy systems are developed. It's City of Espoo and big companies. We brought the small companies there so that they didn't have access to startups. So that we work with the VTT, with the European Space Agency, and the Meteorological Institute of Finland, we helped in the process where new European Space Agency Innovation Center came to Finland, organized the events and pushed that. And also we worked in the digital things together with the engineering association, help them to facilitate it to get the digital activities on. And also the Parliament of Finland, they wanted to have a new creative thing, and we brought those people who do AR, artificial reality and virtual reality, and actually the Parliament committee meeting was at Urban Mill. So we put them to do the things what they normally do legislation of. So that's the way how it then works. This is now that the process what I have said that we call that the whole thing how it's orchestrated an urban wheel, and there in the center is human beings, people, and as I said before, we help them learn, build, and deploy. So that's the whole thing, and it starts from that, from the left, from ecosystems, whatever they are, health systems or education system. There are some problems or ideas. We bring them so that people, we help that to happen, that people start to do their own narratives about the things, how they would like to change it. Then from the narratives are brought to the events where people have broader audiences, other people join. And from those events, then the people find them other like-minded people who build teams which have objectives to do something, and then do experiments, prototypes, bring them into the real life and do business models, and then back to the ecosystem. So that's basically the innovation orchestration process what we have, and that's close to also design thinking and that type of thing. So it's not new, but it's our way of doing it. And we can start it from whatever round. We can start it from teams and go to the experiments. And there is that there is in the same time learning and doing. And perhaps one important thing what is there is that there's a distinction what you can do with the people in the upper right corner and what you do with the institutions. So when we go and start the process, we start with the people, but then we somewhere try to build the bridge between the institutions through the prototypes, so that then when the experiments are done and the prototypes are done, then it's more institutional. So that's one important thing. But then the other thing is that as I said in the beginning, that it's important that it's meaningful for the people. And when you start to work with the people, it have to be meaningful for them. But then when you bring your prototype of a thing into real life, then it's context dependent, so that you have to do things which fit to the context where you work. So we have to always have this ambidextrity of different angles, and that's challenging. I don't know how it happens, but sometimes it looks that if you just are supporting that from bottom up and you have a vision, it some way works. I show you now one video. You don't have to listen to me. So I show what happens let's. This is an example of projects which use our spaces. We haven't done this, but we have enabled this. This is in Finnish, but you see what kind of those activities are. So you see that our activities like that, so that we are part of that enabling different people in Finland and do things which are quite practical, experimental, etc. So that was just one thing what has happened. And our everyday life is, in the best part, is like that. So working with all those great people for all of the world. So we used different digital tools for that. I don't go deeper to that. But then perhaps going to this is still the theoretical thing. But I said before that we don't believe on the old-fashioned project management thing, where we have a project, we have a direction, people do things, all is fixed in the beginning, it have to be effect, it's closed, and all goal is decided beginning, and etc. But what we try to do, and the video was also that we help to build journeys, exploration, intersectional things where people do together more creative things, so that the organization is done during the process, not in the beginning. We don't focus on the process, effective process, but the best possible outcome and impact, more open innovation. And then what guides all the things is this vision, what I said before, so that the vision shows, and then the people can self-organize. So it means that it's flexible, and the management and orchestration is more connecting people and helping them to collaborate. The time is running. I said to Olga that I'm always talking too much, but this is what I took the case what Jarmo talked about the schools. So this is a list, you can look this later, but it means that during the many years we have been working different way with the schools and school children. And for example, we hosted the Royal College of Arts workshops before that School as a Service project started. And then we have been working with connecting people and students and businesses and teachers together. And that's an ongoing long process we try to do. And we believe on that you have to make long-term things, not short-term things. And there we have been doing that on the regional level too. Then this is perhaps the connecting together, what it means to orchestrate things. And I tell this is a concept to that. And on the horizontal level, you see that there are those services and users. Those are the existing, functions which are in organizations. Those who don't work anymore, but still they are ongoing. And that's the main thing what is happening. Then you have these strategical new things, which is innovation, which in this is a vertical thing. And now the challenge when you are orchestrating things, you have to fit these innovation activities to ongoing activities. And if we first take the strategic element there, it means there's a lot of things happening there downstairs in the innovation communities, new things happening. Nobody knows. It's a lot of, every day comes something. And in the upper thing, there are these, for example, in our case, our mayor from the City of Espoo, who is living in the global reality, tries to get more citizens there, more businesses, more taxis, etc. And now he should use these innovations. But in reality, the strategic management don't have the power to affect well into operational processes. They go on their own life there, so that they have to also, of course, they can push it, but it doesn't work. And now if we think that there's somebody orchestrating the innovation, we see that there are 5 different things what they can do, should do. One is, of course, that they have to understand the users, the future users of innovation, the social meaningfulness on the left, so that they have some understanding of that, so that is it worthwhile. They have to, on the right side, understand that better than the service producers, what is the whole holistic context where the people live, so that we call spatial understanding. So that's one thing there. But then when they work with the certain management, mayors and CEOs, they have to have visionary power to imagine futures which doesn't exist, and some kind of political leadership capabilities there. And then when we go downstairs, where is all the innovation communities, there's so much happening that in order to understand what is there, you have to be called cognitive clarity. You have to frame things that when somebody does a small part of innovation, how to bring it to the users as others so that they understand it. So, and now we are coming to the good thing from our project view. We believe that the whole solution for that, where the orchestrate is between these powers, there is the agile design. So when you orchestrate, you have to have artification capabilities, doing something which fits to all these realities. And that's a good thing. You can do it, then you can orchestrate. But the bad thing is that's not easy task. So to orchestrate there, you have to some way be able to communicate to 4 different worlds. And that's the challenge. And that's why I think this work is never ending. It's all over there. And that means, for example, in our case, we have used this so that we have been left working with the regional authorities. We have done orchestrated for our government, for example, startup ecosystem development or innovation ecosystem thing, and be part of consortia which do that. And there we have used this orchestration capability. Now we are bringing the model. We are there, Kari Mikkelä in left down corner. We are bringing the concept to other places too, and try to do it, help our collaborators to do it in other parts of the city. And now the one good thing I'm so happy that what we can do in these projects, we do a design hackathon for creative designers and startups. So that will be in late August, what we do together with Kiev, etc. And you all are invited there. It's not yet there. We are preparing and we try to launch it before next week. But that's the next phase. So where we try to then somewhere share things and put different players together. So sorry, it was longer, but anyway, that was our story about the orchestration, and I'm so happy to share things and discuss further, and then hope that during our next phases, then we can do real life things together. So Olga, if you take from here.
Yeah, Kari, do you hear me now? That was great, and for me it's special memories from the visit in Aalto University, and that was a great trip and a lot of impressions and everything. And I saw that you have huge hub, a lot of equipment, a lot of startups there. And also I wish to ask you, you also made the advertisement of the Ultra Hack and hackathons. And how many startups do you work with, like the part of this project? Tell us, please.
In general, we work with all startups who want to work with us. So, but we have had there 50 in our own community which pay something for us or have paid. But then there are a few hundred teams, 200 teams perhaps, which we have been working. They are not all ready-made. They are more ideas of the new startups. They do product prototypes, etc. But then, for example, we had in part of this project an event, virtual event 2-3 weeks ago, where we had 150 startups from the Aalto University Startup Center, which were together. There were 205 people attending that. Part of those were startups. So generally, we try to work with these who are close to us. They are mainly. And there's 2,000 companies within the mile from Urban Mill. And we could say that 500 of those are early stage companies.
Mm-hmm. Oh, well, huge numbers actually, for us especially. And can you see the chat right now, Kari? Because there are some questions for you.
I stop my presentation, then
Yeah, you can enter the chat.
Yeah.
And
yes.
Also, I see that Vladimir has question to you. Vladimir, are you still with us?
And Kari, thank you very much again for another great lecture. And I have a question, basically, what is your personal opinion as an expert? What would be the most effective point of influence to bring the idea of new management approaches actual for big corporations?
It's a challenge. Thanks. Good question. Perhaps one thing is making a business case. So it means that, first of all, you have to bring them something in that language what they understand. So and then the business case and how it makes more efficient or better their own processes is important. So that's the first thing. But then another way of thinking is so that what we actually do in the Otaniemi, not only we, but many others, like Design Factory, which had the presentation before, we engage them into the processes and projects where there are new methods used. So they are there and they see and feel that how it's done. If I think, for example, hackathons, they started 8 years ago, something little bit less than 10 years ago. And when the big companies came into the hackathons, first those were more what they did, they were outside of the key processes of the companies. But then the big companies came there, gave some money there and challenges, but then they learned quite fast. They saw startups and the teams, they learned that, okay, that's a good thing because they were participating there. And now I could say, I don't know the real numbers, but there are quite a lot inside startup centers inside the companies and hackathons and all kind of things, which were before done outside when they participated. So they learned through doing. Did that answer anyway your question?
I think, yeah, thank you. So I see basically the point of view that often the stories of big companies' participation and their opinion and view on all that, oh, hackathons, okay, funny toys you have, okay, we have billions. And how your funny toys can can help us make more billions. But obviously, and they are also knowing that there are great problem with management and interconnectivity inside big corporations, but still many of them are their point of view to the innovations and basically management innovations and startups as just as funny toys. But I think it is time the worldwide crisis, pandemic, maybe that can be triggers that will actualize this problem and make it done faster. Thank you.
Yes, add something. When we work with the City of Espoo, and as I said there, I talked about Smart Otaniemi project. That's a state research center-led project where there's Aalto University, City of Espoo, and all the biggest energy companies in Finland. That actually started from the need of the city. They said that they want to have more sustainable energy and things like that, and they would invest to that type of thing. And they were initiating that, and now, because it's the figures are huge. So, for example, we have the deepest hole in the earth, 7 kilometers, and it gives 10% of the heat energy when it's ready. And there was, you know, the need thing that they could generate business. But in this case, the City of Espoo was an important role. And they do the same thing with the central heating and all kind of things and electricity things. So also the public bodies can, if they are wise, they can take these big companies as startups together and bring them, you know, test-based or place where they can learn to do new things together.
I get the point. Thank you again. Many thanks. I'm very inspired and very, very useful materials. Again, thank you, and thanks to having Aalto and Urban Mill. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, friends, do you have some more questions? It seems to me that Andrei Kokorin wrote something. Cool, conscious shift, thanks. Okay. Do anybody want to add something? Because I have a question to Kari also. Kari, how do you think this pandemic situation will influence to the future growing of these startups and their interaction in your hub? How did the life changed, or it doesn't?
It has changed. I think there are two ways of reacting to that, and there are companies and startups who are in difficulties, and those who are more property related, that type of thing. So they are in difficult situations. But in the same time, we have seen that the digital companies and those who are agile and do new things, they flourish. So that actually this has opened up things what was impossible before. So that there are those who benefit a lot of this because they have solutions for that type of thing. And I believe that as from the digital services point of view, this has been a positive effect to those companies and services and contents who do it. But then from the cultural activities and that type of things, where there are physical events, they are in terrible situation. So they are both good and bad things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we have the same situation, it seems to me. with our teams and startups. Actually, we have not so much of them. Kari, and what kind of technologies maybe would be popular in the nearest future in your hub? What is the most important maybe for these startups? What do they want to see there?
It's a difficult question, but there are so many levels. But one is that of course, if the startups need always income. They need customers who pay something right away because they are always short of money. So you need some technologies which you can use and apply right away. So that means that existing technology, that's one way of doing it, seeing it. But then in the same time, if you do strategy things, then of course 5G networks, artificial intelligence, all that type of things are important. But I think that some of those are overhyped now, so that if you listen the experts of, for example, AI, many of those things what we see here, they have been a long time, the automation and things like that. And many big things wait 10 years or something before the AI solves something what we people can't do. So that there's overhyped things. And I for example, the practical applications from the AI where you can do already solve something are more automation type of thing than artificial intelligence things, and those are important. How to automate things which were done before by hand or something. Mm-hmm. And then another thing is that how you combine technology. Perhaps I think that that's the most valuable thing, that how you combine different technologies, old technologies, digital things, new things, and make new combinatory innovations. And I some way believe that most of the big things in the near future will be combinatory innovations. And then of course you build the basic technologies for food products or material products, etc., for health, etc. But how do you combine things and do new combination of the existing technologies and services and customer base?
And could you name some divisions, or how many divisions do you have at Aalto University? I mean that you have engineering, you have IT technologies, medicine, what else? Can you name maybe a couple of them?
So, first of all, Aalto is our partner. I do my PhD there at Aalto, but I'm in the small company. They have 6 departments there, so that they have arts, they have engineering, they have science, they have the chemistry. Now I have to, they have, Lars, do you remember what was the last one? Are you still there?
Yes, art, science, business school.
Yeah, business school, of course. So those are the main things. But what Aalto, I have to tell something about that, what Lauri said already. It's a merge of University of Arts and Design. So that was one. In Helsinki University Technology, there was only architecture department. Then it's the business school, which they all have established in 1800 something. So they are old schools, but they were merged 10 years ago together. And the whole big thing in Aalto is that you do multidisciplinary things. Mm-hmm. So the departments, of course, they do their own specific and narrow things, but how you combine that is the key there. And I think that the arts department, which is globally in many areas now inside the number 10, so that in the global universe, that has brought the most for it. Not so much the technology, not so much the business, but that gives the creativity. And when that's combined with the technology and with business, then it makes success.
Yes, you are right. And I remember that splendid exhibitions and also museums of art in Helsinki.
Yeah.
It tells about many things, and engineering and technologies also, but everything is art.
So, but one thing that I'm still missing in Aalto context is the humanities. There are philosophy and that type of thing, what Lauri does there, etc. But there should be more humanistic things, because I believe that the great challenges come from that area. So that perhaps in the future there would be more collaboration with the University of Helsinki, which is traditionally humanistic university and life sciences, and then Aalto. And they do it already on the urban side, so that they have collaborative programs where the University of Helsinki has the humanistic side and the urban development from the nature point of view, and put that together. And I see that's a great thing.
Kari, you are splendid as ever, because you have a lot of ideas and thoughts, and I believe everything will be realized in the nearest future.
Thank you.
And I hope for the great future for our project also, because I know that you did a lot of things, and I hope that our participants will see it in the months, and also will combine some new ideas with your teams and with your startups. I hope for that, and I believe that would be great.
And it would be great to see you here too when the corona epidemic is away, so that please, I invite you all to visit us. We are happy to show, because we are just a small player at Urban Mill, but the huge community around is wonderful.
Yes, the community is actually very splendid, and we have seen nothing like that. I hope we can share this experience. And guys, so say hello to Kari, who just switched your cameras. Yeah, Kari, and now we have to give you a rest, because I know that you're sitting here for 2 hours. So
yeah, thank you. And thank you for you all. We see it then in the next lesson too. I'm not attending all the lessons, but almost all.
I think you can see it in YouTube channel, because we have a lot of interesting information for you also.
Yeah.
About our creativity and Ukrainian startups.
Yeah. So thank you, and bye-bye.
Lars, Kari, thank you, and see you soon.
Yeah, we
wish
see
you all the best.
tomorrow.
Thank you for the lecture.
Thank you.
No, bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.